Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director Events Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women brand marketers today. And with me is Tara McRae. She is the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer at Clark's. Hey, Tara.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Is this a real background or?
Yeah, no, it's not virtual. I'm not
Okay.
virtual. It's like you'll see people and cars going back and forth, but no, I'm in my office at Clark's here in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yep.
Massachusetts, my hometown. I'm from,
Nice.
well, not hometown. My hometown is Westwood, but I grew up in Massachusetts. Oh, there goes someone. We
Yep.
better flag them so we can get their approval to be on
It's
this.
raining. You won't be able to see him. It's fine. It's fine.
They're completely covered up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy we were able to do this. Aaron spoke highly of you and wanted me to talk with you. So I'm glad that you're able to make it work.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, all right. So Clark's, I mean, Massachusetts, which we're gonna go into that a little bit down the line. But you guys are, what, 200 years old,
Yeah.
almost 200, yeah, 1825,
Yep.
started in England. But I think it's such a cool story. So basically, the two brothers, the Clarks,
Yep.
but were working together. And James Clark, in particular, he was trying to, or was it, wait,
So
he no,
Cyrus and
Cyrus.
James. Yep.
Okay, Cyrus. All right, I'm getting my history wrong. James was it was his tannery, but then Cyrus, who was I guess kind of bored and hanging out and seeing all like it was basically making rugs, so sheepskin rugs, and so it was all this extra material, and so he sort of had this aha moment saying, "Hey, these could be slippers," and made the sheepskin slippers, and that's actually how Clark's. That was one of the first products is
Yep.
that sheepskin skin slipper. So very cool story, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right. Yeah. So what I want to ask you, because what I love about it is that aha moment. There are so many things that come about that, even how many times do we say, oh, we could have done that, like even post-its
Yep.
or something like that.
Yep.
So have you had your aha moment? Maybe it didn't turn into a million billion dollar thing like
Big global company. Yep.
but
Yep.
but just an aha moment where something happened and it just you created that out of it, whether something little,
Yeah.
something big, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's a great question. And you do know your history, Cyrus and James, carpet makers and extra material. Um, yeah, for me, it's less about the aha moment and it's more about problem solving. So the story that you just told of James and Cyrus, they just had all the extra material from the carpets that were piling up. That's a problem because it was getting in their workspace. They didn't know what to do with it. So it was like, what do we do with this? And they start making foot coverings that turned into slippers that turned into it. So it was problem solving. So to me, like that's in my day job here at Clark's, it's all about problem solving all
Mhm.
day long. The consumers bombarded with messaging. How do we develop a plan and work together to problem solve how to do that at home? I have two kids. You're constantly problem solving as
Uh-huh.
well in that. So I would say there's been like big moments, yes, in my life of like, how do I solve this problem, whether it's in, career or which direction to go. But I wouldn't say I've had that one aha moment at all. It's like a ton of aha moments or a ton of problem solving moments in my day, my personal life and professional life.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with what you say in terms of the problem solving. You maybe come up with something. So you're having this challenge, whether it be with your kids, boys, girls, boy and girl.
One of each.
One of each, okay.
Yep.
So whether it's with them or, as you said, maybe something that's happening at work, but you then solve it in a way, and it might be simple, but maybe it makes your life easier, and then you continue to do that. So is
Yep.
that sort of what you're talking about? Not maybe that big problem that it's almost those little solves that then make your life easier as you move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Or to your point, with the example, unlock something new and exciting.
Hmm.
So we talk a lot about innovation's a big word here at Clark's is innovation. People think these big, massive things. It could be innovating in something small, to your point, that makes our day-to-day lives easier or makes things better.
Yeah.
So I think whether it's an aha moment or something, innovative or problem solving, I think it's all the same thing, to really either unlock something or make something easier in your life.
Yep. No, I agree. We all have these little hacks as well. Things we do.
Yeah, I got lots of little hacks.
Yeah, I do. I actually have a hack that I didn't realize was a hack until we were talking about it at one of the summits, and I mentioned, "Oh, I just every time when I do my wash, I took all of my jeans and pants inside out. And so then I know I've worn them once if they're not inside out anymore. And
Life
everyone,
hack.
that's amazing. And I'm like, seriously?
It's a life hack. I love it. I love it.
So they can be very little. All right. So in terms of your career, obviously, it's had a certain trajectory. But I want to start like you were at Bose, you were at Puma. Is it Puma or Puma?
Puma, yeah. Or if you're in euros, it's Puma, whatever.
Okay, I've heard both. So anyway, and of course Clark's. But when you were first starting out, when you were, just ready to graduate college, what were you thinking? Were you envisioning what your career is today, or were you on a different path? Talk about that and then how it evolved to where you are.
I wouldn't say when I was, 18 going into college or 21 coming out of college that I would envision this. But absolutely, I was always career driven. I mean, I think I was like 12 or 13 and begged my parents to let me get a job. And I negotiated with my mom to have a paper route. Like I was always wanting to work and move ahead and build my career, even at a young age. When I was in college, I did a couple internships. And one of them I did at Walt Disney World, which was an amazing, they have this college program. It's absolutely amazing. You go and you live down there, you go to Disney school, they work, there's a lot of things that you attend, and then you have a job within the parks or a certain aspect of it. And I was in retail there. And my mom had owned a small clothing boutique when I was little, and I just fell in love with retail and fell in love with products. And so for me, when I got out, I knew I wanted to be in some form. I loved marketing and communications. That's what I had studied. So I
Hmm.
knew like that was the type of sector that I wanted to go to. I did a little bit of agency time. I lived out in LA when I first got out of college. And then my first brand side job was at Bose. And just fell in love with marketing at that age. And I knew that was the direction I wanted to go within marketing, within brand and product. And I was always ahead of the curve in technology and digital. So that was something really special to me at a young age as well. So yeah, I mean, if I look back 20 years ago thinking I'd be sitting here, I'd be, pretty excited, but pretty shocked as well. But I always knew I wanted to do more since I was a kid.
Well, one, you had that ambition, but two, it seems like you did have that marketing type kind of
Yes.
idea to do, like
Yeah.
whatever that communications, that sort of. And what is it about? I like to ask sometimes marketers in terms of, because there's so many variations of your position or a marketing position.
Yes.
And
Yep.
as you even mentioned digital, like there's all different, but what was it that really drew you there and why you thought it was a good fit for yourself?
Yeah. What's funny is the creative side to marketing is what drew me there. So I grew up an athlete and then I got injured and somehow stumbled into theater. So I ended up doing a lot of theater through my college years. And the part I fell in love with was the behind the scenes, the actually marketing of the show and
Oh,
selling the tickets and getting the butts in the seats and the design that we would put on the posters. And that whole part of it was my favorite part of doing it. It was really the creative aspect of it. And so that was a big focus for me. But then when I started working at Bose, I worked within the direct marketing group, which I won't say there was a lot of creative there. There was creative, but I always say I learned the science of marketing there. There's a balance of art and science, but
yeah.
really all of the analytics, all of understanding a return on investment, every penny was measured, everything throughout the position that I was in. And that aspect, I was like, wow, this is a marketing world I didn't even know really that existed. So I think that part of it. And then when I went to Puma, I really understood the art side of it, and understanding more like consumer centricity and all of that. So I've fallen in love with both sides, which I believe is what has made me so successful is both the art and the science side. And having a passion for both of them is key.
Yeah, well, and I do think, because then some people, especially someone just starting out, they might go to you and be like, "Oh, I want to be you. I want to be, a CMO," and they think more in lines. I think what most of us think about is the creative side. I want to
Yes.
be in
Yes.
advertising. I want to be a marketer. I want to create ads like this, and obviously that's a part. But really, for in your position, that is almost gets put in the backside. It's still there, but you
Yeah.
need to look at the bigger picture, and that
Yep.
involves the bottom line. That involves, all
Yep.
the science, as you said.
Yep.
So, like, like someone
Yeah.
coming up to you asking they want to be you, and what kind of advice do you give them? And again, maybe they're at a younger age, so it's a procession, like it's a progress there,
Yep.
not just okay, do this right now.
Yep, that's a great point. I always tell everybody marketing has evolved so much since I've been in it. There used to be the brand team, they do the cool, fun brand stuff, creative, and then the commercial team do all of that. Everything is intertwined. So you can't brand build and then sell something over here. Like we don't brand build and sell shoes. It's all intertwined. They have to do it all together. So I think that's the evolution of it. Is everybody's wallets are squeezed now. A lot of young talent or internships or that come through here. What the first piece of advice I give them is, and you can see all the busyness behind me. The first piece of advice is to test out the different functions of marketing, because I have to one day be a specialist in PR and be a specialist in digital. Like I have to know enough about everything to be dangerous, but not that deep. So I always tell people to feel out different jobs. Like unless I want to work in public relations, that's all I want to do, but you may not know that you love something or good at something. Like I started out in media, but then I went to sports marketing. So you can evolve. The other thing is right now, I mean, if you're not in some form of digital or have digital experience, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah.
Everything is digital. So you don't have digital marketers anymore because everybody's a digital marketer. But if you're not affluent in that space and understand it and understand not just the cool, fun stuff is what people think social media is, but the analytics and all of that stuff behind it. Even the best creatives in the world have to embrace a certain level of analytics and understanding of return on investment. Like some of the creatives I work with, some of the best ones are the ones that understand it the most.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, you kind of think, well, okay, I'm going to be on the creative side, and then there's going to be that person on the analytics side. But it does make sense because it's even I think like having worked on the agency side and then working on the brand side, it probably gives you a better understanding having
Yes.
on the agency side to do better on the brand side, not only in collaborating with the agency, but also just everything that goes in line with what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And working on both sides gives you such an appreciation. Like especially working with agencies, having worked on the agency side, like I feel like I'm a better client
Hmm.
for these agencies.
Yeah.
Like I always tell people, it's like, look, point the thumb, like, are you the best client out there? But yes, I agree. It gives you a perspective from both sides.
You come at it a little differently. Well, so you have done Clark's recently did a collaboration with Martine Rose, and it's called Coming Up Roses. I guess Martine Rose, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Very cute little take on that.
Yep.
So, but I want to say her quote, I want to read it. And again, this is, as I always say, I do my snooping and you posted it, so I saw it. And she was quoted in, I think, a Vogue, I'm not sure which Vogue it was, but a Vogue magazine.
Yes.
And she said, there's value in taking your time and figuring out who you are and growing as a person and as a designer. And make mistakes, it's fine. You're a better designer for it. So I think that's great advice. So is there a time in your life that you can apply that to something that happened that maybe you had that mistake, but you were able to learn from it and grow from it and now become better at who you are as a person, who you are in your job, however you want to fill that in?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about confidence and risk taking. So Martine, she absolutely nailed it. And yes, she came on board as our guest creative director to bring that juice to the brand. But when she talks about it and evolving as a massive designer that she is, she's evolving who she is and the aesthetic, and she's going to make mistakes. Same thing with me. I'm evolving who I am, especially as a leader and a manager. So I study leaders above me. I study the good ones and the ones maybe that are not so good
Yeah.
on stuff I want to emulate and stuff I don't want to be like. And I think for me, I'm constantly evolving as a leader. When I was early in my career, I was very micromanaging because I thought that's what you did.
Hmm.
And then and then when somebody started micromanaging me, I was like, oh, this is awful. Like, I don't, so I've evolved. And so I've been lucky enough to work for some amazing people at everywhere I've gone. And I've learned a lot about that. So I'm constantly evolving as a leader and a manager. And as a marketer, I've made tons of mistakes. Luckily, I think my success rate outweighs my failure rate, which is probably a good position to be in.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you have to, and you have to learn from those mistakes. That's how you evolve. If you don't make mistakes, then you're definitely not doing your job. You're not taking enough risks. If you're winning every time, you're definitely not.
Yeah. Is there one? I'm curious if there's one particular mistake that you might have made that really put you on a better path. Like you sat back and were like, okay, let me reevaluate. and then it put you in a better direction. Whether it might have been a mistake in terms of taking a certain job or
Yeah.
doing a certain whatever, but just
Yeah.
something that directed you elsewhere that turned out better.
Yeah. I mean, two scenarios is super young in my career. I took a job for pure money. I left a job I loved at a young age. I was like 22, fresh out of college. I loved the job. I made no money, but I loved it. And I
Mhm.
took this job because it paid me double and I was miserable.
Yeah.
And at like 23 years old, I was like, I am never in my life going to do this again. Never. Because
Yeah.
it's not like the happiness and the enjoyment and the growth. So that was probably thank God I made that at an early age.
Mhm.
But in my career, I had signed an ambassador to the brand, and it ended up being really, really bad. And so for me, that big mistake then really led me to doing a greater due diligence and a greater brand value alignment and all of that, which
Mhm.
then unlocked some of the greatest projects I've ever worked on in my career, whether it be Martine Rose at Clark's is a huge one for me. Even when I was at Puma, we worked with Rihanna in the first iteration of Fenty, like finding the ambassadors that align. So I think both in my personal and professional career, I've definitely had some big mistakes that have been beneficial later in life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a key thing is looking at those mistakes and learning from them
Yeah.
as opposed to either sweeping them back or letting it stop you, and you need to always keep moving forward, but just reevaluating and learning.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to have a little fun. As I said, from Massachusetts. So have to like the whole Boston thing. I mean, we that comes into so many. The Duncan ad recently with
So good. So
isn't that
good.
awesome? I love
Yep.
that. I mean,
Yep.
and then also I loved Hyundai when they did the park, like back like when they were like
So good.
parallel
Yep.
parking. So like,
Yep.
and I'm
I'm
sure.
a sucker, and Boston Beer Works as well had one
Oh yeah,
for Sam Adams. I'm a sucker for Boston
yeah.
marketing. Yep.
I do hate watching a movie though, and the person is exaggerating the accent so much, or maybe
Yep.
I just feel like
Yep.
they are, and I'm like, we don't
Yep. Yep.
have
Yep.
that.
I can't do it very well. I try, and my kids make fun of me. I try to do the Boston accent, and you think I'd be able to do it much better being authentically from here.
Yes, but no, I mean, well,
Yep.
when you've traveled around, like I've lived in a lot, I mean, people can tell if I've had a drink. Maybe they're like, "Hey, are you from Boston?" Like
Yep.
it will come
Definitely.
out, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it comes out in certain in
Yeah.
situations. Okay, so there are definitely, and it's funny. I was just in California with my friend who is from Boston, but obviously her kids are being raised in California, so they make fun of everything because she has a really thick accent. And one of the things, especially which just came up like last week, the week before is calling it okay. So the real name, I'm going to probably say the real name is Sprinkles, or what most of the country
Of
call them.
course. Sprinkles. Yep.
What do you call them?
Well, I call them Jimmy's.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yes, of
Jimmy.
course. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
what she was making fun. She's like, they're not Jimmy's, they're Sprinkles. And we're like, they're
Yep.
Jimmy's. So
Yep.
we're
Yep.
getting
Yep. Yep.
going to like one of those yogurt places. Okay. All right. How do you say if you want to go to the liquor store?
The Packy.
Yep. Got to
Yep.
go to Packy.
Yep. And that happened to me when I moved to California and said, "Are we going to stop at the Packy before an event?" My friend was like, "I have no idea what you just said."
I agree. Yes, that happens. And
Yeah.
another one when you're driving and you come to that circular thing, what do you call it?
Well, Rotary.
Rotary. But
Yeah.
that's not, people don't call it that.
No, they call it a roundabout
Yeah.
where my headquarters are. Yep. Yep.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Here that says traffic circle, they call it as well. All right. So how about the bubbler?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still call it the bubbler, but the water fountain. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Oh, all right. So if something's really, really, really cool, you say it's
Wicked cool.
yes.
These are all the words and all the things I've tried to pull out of my childhood, and now you're putting them all back
They're
in.
all coming
I will
back.
say my parents and my in-laws all have thick accents, and they hate it when I make fun of them. But
Yeah.
it's funny, like me growing up in the suburbs and different schooling don't have it as well as thick as they do.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I go back with my family and or even friends, because for a long time I had to lose my accent just
Yep.
because of my work.
Yep.
And so they'd be talking and I would be correcting them in my head the whole time. Like so I'm not listening to it being said with the accent.
Yep.
It would be very a lot of work there.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, and the whole Wicked. I was watching. There was a show about it. I think it was a hair salon show, but they called it Wicked something, and I'm like, oh, this must be from Boston, and it was. Like,
Definitely.
you go know it. All right, we'll just do two more. Let me see. What are some good ones? Okay. Okay, if you want someone to, if you're driving and you
Mm.
want them to suddenly turn and go the other way, you
Yeah, they
say,
bang a Yui.
yep.
Yep, 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 yep.
Yep.
I'm
And
really from Boston, I promise you, but you can keep quizzing me.
I know. Okay. Okay. And how about dinner? How do you say dinner?
Supper.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now here's an old one. My father says this, and I don't know. And I know I said only two, but one more. Um, they're subs. So Bostonians call them,
Oh God, now you've stumped
actually,
me. I mean, there's the hoagie, but
yes, but
that's
I don't
more
know if
like a
that's a
New York,
Boston
New
thing.
Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a more of a Jersey thing,
Well,
I think.
I don't know. I think it's more like my father's generation. He calls it a spucky. He,
Never heard that.
he would always say,
I
let's go get a spucky.
never heard that.
Yep.
That might be your family.
His dad's weird. I'll
Could be, could
say.
be, could be. Yep, yep,
All
yep.
right. Well, that's awesome. So, okay, you passed the
I
true
I
Bostonian
I
test.
am. Yep, yep, yep.
What is there something someone that people get wrong about you when they first meet you?
Well, I recently, in the past couple of years, realized this. I'm a softie, and you would never think that, and I've been told that. People think that I'm really, really hard and aggressive and all those things, and I might be that, but internally, I'm such a softie and a pushover. And even at home, like I'm definitely the softer one with the kids and whatnot. So my wife is definitely the more strict one. I think that surprises people that I'm definitely a softie.
Really? So,
Yeah.
like, so if I'm meeting you, maybe I just start working for you, and would I maybe tread lightly, and then
Oh yeah.
as I get to know you as my boss, I might be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you're
Well, I
whatever.
said to this guy that worked for me years ago, he had a new employee, and I said, "She won't talk to me." And he said, "She's afraid of you." I was like, "Me?" He said, "Yeah, she's absolutely petrified of you." And I was like, "Does she know that I'm really a softie?" He goes, "No, because she doesn't know you. Give her time." So I think when people first meet me, that's it's something that they don't realize is deep down the softness, the kindness is really there. My exterior is a lot harder.
Yeah, you come across a little bit, maybe you're a little bit more reserved when you're meeting someone, like,
Yep.
filling it out and then,
Yep. I don't know that I'm reserved, but I'm definitely probably don't come across as a softie, but I am.
okay, all right. All right, so we're gonna go again with another little,
Okay.
not quiz necessarily, but so Clark's has had a lot of slogans.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing the research, if there's some of these slogans are incorrect, then blame it on Google. But these
Got
are what
it.
I came up with. All right, so one from 1999 is act your shoe size, not your age. So, and it's basically I'm trying to act like a
Yep.
kid.
Yep.
So, what would
Yep.
that mean to you? Like,
Yep.
so, if,
You pulled it out from the archive, huh, on that one. That would mean to me, it's just like, well, me personally, it'll put me in single digits, but have more fun in life. Like
mhm,
you gotta have more fun in life and take more risks. Like if I look back at my younger self, early in my career or younger life, and it was like, you were too serious, take more risks, have
mhm.
more fun with it.
Yeah. So, all right. So, how would you be acting? Don't need to tell us our shoe size if you don't want your shoe
Yep.
size if you don't want, but just, do you ever act that way? Is that, like you have that side where you have the softy side, but do you still let that fun, whether, your size 8, 7,
Yeah,
9,
I am. Yep,
whatever?
8.5. Absolutely. I would say for me, it's, with my kids and with my family for sure. Whether I'm playing, sports or whatever it is with my son or anything that I'm doing, absolutely would have fun and let loose. Um, I wish, you could have, because when you're that young, you're more free to create. Like
Mm,
now we just have so many boundaries. It's like create within these boundaries. When you're that age, there's no boundaries. You don't care for
yeah.
creating. So I think that's something I think being if I were 8.5 again.
Yeah. No, I think you also, even writing. I know for me, I used to keep journals since I was a kid. I
Yeah.
still have them, which many of them say a wicked piss, a good whaler. I was,
Well, the whole journal thing worked out for you. So well done. Well done. Yeah.
but yeah, so but it's like now I go to write and I still write, but not like I used to write poems, like, and they would just flood out of me. Like I wouldn't even, just be boom, boom, boom. And
Yeah.
now I think you think more like you want to be
Yeah.
perfect about it. I
Now
don't,
you're writing a grocery list of like here.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, okay, I made the mistake. Like I'm just like, I'm too much of like, it has to be perfect. So
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I think when you're younger, you tend to let things flow a little bit more.
Yep.
Okay, so another one is shoes designed for living, and that was from
Mm.
2008. All right, so What are your living shoes, your go-to shoes, just to live life?
Oh, that yeah, that one was before my time too. Well, honestly, it's every day it's Clark's. Like my go-to shoes are Clark's. If I'm not in Clark's, like when I'm working out or running, I'm a big fan of New Balance. Um, really big fan.
Yourselves as well?
Yep, of my friends over at New Balance. I would say my friends at Adidas as well.
Mhm.
So there, but yeah, I'm in
Sneaker fan.
Clark's. Yeah. Oh, I'm a sneakerhead, 100%. I have a massive sneaker collection, and I do wear a lot of them. But even when I left, so I worked for Clark's, and then I left and worked for TB12 for a while, and then came back to Clark's. I
Mhm.
still wore Clark's all the time, and I still bought Clark's. Like I'm just a massive fan, so I'm not lying to you when I'm saying like 90% of the time I'll be in Clark's. The other 10%, you probably catch me in NB or Adidas. Yeah.
And I will let you, usually I say, aside from where you're working, whether it be a clothing or, but since you incorporated other brands,
Yep.
I'll let that slide.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect.
And Clark's is very much a lifestyle. I have to say that.
Yeah, it covers like if I have to go to a wedding or an event or a Saturday morning, like I mean, our brand covers everything. So it's a tough one for me. Yep.
No, get that. Okay. And then finally, 2024 coming up
Yep.
roses. So what
Yep.
is your coming up roses moment? Not about work, but
Okay.
something, and it can be very simple, but just something where this is a good day or this is a good moment.
I would say my favorite moments are when my whole family's together, and it's usually Sunday nights where everybody gets the Sunday scaries and all that. For me, that's my
Mhm.
favorite because my family's just crazy on schedules. My daughter's a competitive dancer. My son plays all these sports. So like we're all over the place. Weekends, that's all we do and a lot of active families do that. Everybody's driving. But usually, unless there's a competition or a game, like Sunday nights, we're at home just hanging out as a family. Nothing special. Cooking
Mhm.
dinner, game night, movie, whatever it is, like that's probably my favorite moment.
Yeah. No, that sounds perfect. Well, so in terms of going through your career, like getting to your career, was
Yeah.
there a challenge? So not about work, not a particular campaign, but something that you sort of faced, a challenge, and it may not even be about your career, but that you
Mm.
were sort of overwhelmed, didn't know if you're going to get through this. Ultimately, obviously you did. And one, what was it and how were you able to sort of surpass that?
Yeah. I think and it's both professional and personal. But oftentimes I was often the youngest person in the room and the only woman. So as I grew in my career and got to the executive level and whatnot, I would say most of the time I was the youngest. You know, there were a couple times that there were some gentlemen that were my age or younger, but I was often the only woman. So I had to figure that out, both personally and professionally, how to navigate that. Now I'm lucky enough to sit around the table with multiple women, but
Mhm.
that was a tough one for me trying to figure out how to navigate. It's like, do I fit in? Try to be one of the guys? Do I try to be like? So that was a really really hard thing for me. Um, and then also too, like I like leaving, because I've been a company. Tend to go to companies and I don't jump ship like every year. Like I tend to be there. That part is always really hard for me, making that decision to leave,
Yeah.
because it affects things like that. Yeah, so your professional life dramatically, obviously, but your personal life has a massive impact
Yeah.
on a career change, a job change, all of that. Those things aren't easy. And I think everybody breezes over those things. But definitely being the only woman in the room, I'm now, when I am it, I'm now really comfortable with it. I didn't used to be when I was younger because I was like trying to figure out, do I try to act like them? Like who now I'm confident and I just embrace it.
And just be you. But I'm
Yes.
curious because it is something you had to learn. Like someone just
Yeah.
starting out, even I don't, as you said, there's more women in the room now, so we
Yep.
do see that, but
Yep.
not always, and it depends the industry. You can still be the only woman in the room, and for that person who, and it could be someone who's maybe not so young, it could be change of careers, it could be whatever it may be. How do you Well, how would you advise them? So if they haven't quite evolved to what you have evolved to, but what's the best way to like sort of start, as
Yeah.
far as, okay, I approach that and I'm that only woman in the room right now, what do I need to do?
Yeah. Well, I think first off, I always tell people find a mentor. I have a couple different mentors, amazing women that I've discovered through my career, then I hold on to them. So definitely mentorship will help, but it's confidence to be yourself. Don't try to be like them. Like you're unique for a reason. And I wish when I was younger that somebody had told me that. I found great mentors, later on, but and don't give up either. Like I was on, I had a call with a woman who's a friend of mine, and she's on a couple boards, and she was telling me she's the only woman on all 3 boards she's on. And I said, do not leave those boards. Like you do not, because like we have to keep pushing
Yeah.
together. But we have to be ourselves when we go into the room, and be confident in who we are. So I definitely mentorship's key, and being yourself.
Yeah. No, do you see, do you think, because I don't know, I would tend to feel sometimes maybe someone's judging, a man might be judging me as a woman. And is it better to sort of observe a little bit first and then
Yes.
jump in? Or
Yep.
is it like just go in full forces?
Yeah. Um, well, I always observe before I do anything. Just you kind of get the lay of the land, you read the room, all of that. I'm a big fan of that rather than coming in super hot to know what you're dealing with. So I would suggest that. Um, Also, too, is I've now been more open about it, because a lot of the times the gentlemen around the table, they're just not aware. So I've said to them, like, I'm the only woman in the room. So like imagine you being the only of that type. So I'm now very open about talking about that. And then it gives them like, oh, okay, I didn't think of that. Okay, right. So I understand. So it gives them a little bit, maybe a little bit of empathy, understanding of all that. Okay, so this is the only person too, is like, don't hide from it. Don't don't try to pretend you're like all of them when you're not.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've grown in confidence in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's sort of like looking at, what is it saying, the elephant in the room, whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It's just like, because when people just try to ignore or avoid those things that someone is thinking, I think the more, not blunt, but blunt, you know what I mean? Like, just let's say it
Yes.
as it is, and everyone puts it out there, as opposed to you're thinking this and I'm thinking this, and where neither one is thinking correctly, and what you know what I mean? Like, well, I'm thinking
Exactly.
this and you're thinking. So I think if you just put it out there, there's a
Yep.
lot of thinks in that, but if you know what I mean, I think.
Yes.
So, all right. So finally, I want to ask. So again, I'm going to go back to Clark's and your tagline
Mm.
for the world ahead to, and that's sort of the lead. And then it
Yep.
describes it as, to change the world of tomorrow, we need to move forward today.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, we all have big goals, whether it be, and I'm talking more, not world peace. I'm talking, your big goals for just life and your life and world.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, you can think there and be overwhelmed with this huge, like, this is what I want to do. And that's part of what we all are. But what are those little goals, those little steps you take each day, that kind of those little wins that you're happy about, that will get you moving forward closer to that bigger goal?
Yeah. Um, that's a really good question. Like it's that might be my favorite campaign since we worked on that in the past year. For the world ahead. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's the little things you do matter. So how you speak to people, how you treat people, it all comes full circle.
Mhm.
So, and the footprint that you're leaving, sorry for the bad pun, working for a shoe company, but the footprint you leave at a company on people's lives when you're having a conversation, those are the things, believe it or not, in my chaos of my every single day with marketing and digital, I focus on that every single day. And even if you're in a heated meeting or whatnot, I always want somebody to feel better about what they've done, or better about how they feel about themselves by working with me and my team, even if it's not in a good situation. So for me, it is all about those little moments. I'm big on giving back, huge on giving back in little things and in big things. I talked about mentorship. I've been so lucky to have amazing women mentors that anybody that is needing help with mentoring, I will absolutely put aside time for it.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, how do you have time to do that? And it's like, that's on my priority list. You always have time to do what's on your priority list. Maybe not all those other things. For me, it's a priority.
Mhm.
So giving back in many different forms, but that to me, the little moments matter.
That's awesome. Well, I like that. But well, Tara, thank you. This has
No,
been so
thank you.
much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I loved your Boston quiz. I've never been quizzed if I was authentically Boston. So I appreciate that.
Now we know. We'll have to like add that to your LinkedIn page.
Yeah, my accent, I like if I went into the accent, you'd be like, I don't think you're from Boston, but I'll work on it.
You knew the lingo. That's all that
Yes,
matters.
exactly, exactly. Thank you so much. It was great to meet you, Lisa.
Yeah, it was great to meet you too, Tara. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, please, if you have anyone you'd like me to pull back the curtain on, any woman brand marketer who you think is awesome and you want to hear more about them, please let me know and I will do my best. So thanks again for watching and thanks, Tara.